Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Ascension Chronicle of the Godslayer is a game that I like quite a bit, and all of its expansions. It was in my top 100 somewhere. I can't remember if it was in like the 30s or the 40s that I put out last year. And it was also number 2 on my top 10 deck building games list. But it has fallen in my estimation quite a bit. Not because it's a bad game by any means. I still enjoy it. I still buy every set that comes out. In fact, here, I'll show you. I still have I have the base set box on my shelf, but I have, here's where you see me manhandle boxes, just throw them everywhere. I have all the different stuff for Ascension. I have like every expansion set. I made my own little crappy dividers, and I have bags and bags of honor tokens from the other base sets that I just don't have to use. And the only thing I don't have are some promos. But yeah, I even bought the 2-player starter set because why not? So I love Ascension, I really do. It's just that I think that there's other deck building games that are probably better at this point. Even the DC Comics deck building game, which is a shameless ripoff of Ascension, just like Ascension is a shameless ripoff of Dominion, but even the DC Comics deck building games and its cousins like Naruto and Street Fighter, I just think are a little more streamlined, a little bit shorter to play, not as clunky, and people are more attracted to the artwork of those games rather than the artwork of Ascension. So having said that, did I feel like I needed to get the Ascension Collector's Edition? Well, I still did feel I needed to get that for a couple of reasons. First off, if there was ever a set that needed, maybe not a Collector's Edition, but definitely a reprint, it's the original Chronicles of the Godslayer and the Return of the Fallen expansion for Ascension. Because Stoneblade Entertainment, at that time I think it was just Gary Games, was doing it on the cheap. This was before Kickstarter, or maybe right when Kickstarter came out. And so there was definitely some component and card quality issues, unevenly cut cards, not matching up to any of the expansions they released after that, pretty much requiring you to sleeve them, which is something I didn't want to do. So I've essentially not played with my base Ascension cards in a long time. I've only played with the expansion stuff, but the later expansions. So I still like those cards. I still wanted to play with them, so I felt like, okay, this is my chance to get those cards again. And when I say that this is a collector's edition, this is the Year 1 collector's edition. It collects the first set, the base set, the first expansion, Return of the Fallen, and then all of the promos that came out around that time. The Rat King, the Rat Queen, and then all of like the single promos that came out within the first year or so. And also they're all foil. And also they all have new artwork. And I'll get more into this in my final thoughts. And there's also like the board is new and is foil. It looks pretty cool. Things like that. Now, a couple of notes here though. This is the retail version of the collector's edition. And I say that because during the Kickstarter campaign for the Ascension app, which was a whole debacle where that app never actually got made, they went crawling back on their hands and knees to Playdeck to help them make it. Anyways, during that Kickstarter campaign, there was this incredibly ridiculously expensive pledge level, which meant I almost came close to pledging for it, that lets you get this super collector's edition that had like every card up to that point, up to that set, which was like Rise of Vigil, came out because of that during that campaign. And you could get every single one of those cards in foil with sleeves in this nice collector's edition box. It was like a wooden box, I think, was what they were promising. And then like these honor tokens that were sculpted and stackable, and a bobblehead cultist doll. I mean, and then all these different promo cards. And I think you could even get yourself as a promo card. I mean, that was in the collector's edition box, something like that. You could get like your own custom cards. And that's why I almost backed it. And I don't know if that's still happening. I assume that it is, but I just need you to know that this is just a normal retail collector's edition. Still nice, not anywhere near that level. And I have heard that once they're through their first printing of this collector's edition for retail, it may not be reprinted again. I don't know about that. I suspect that they will still print more of it, but I could be wrong. And I have no idea if they're going to continue to do this for Ascension Year 2. In other words, doing all the other expansions to bring them all up to speed. This is only for the Year 1 Collector's Edition. So I'm not going to give you a review or an overview of Ascension, the base game. You can go and check out my actual review and overview of Ascension if you want to know more about it and know most of my final thoughts about that game, coupled with what I said in the beginning of this video. But I'll show you what comes in this box, quote-unquote, tin. Then we're going to come back and we'll discuss it a little bit. Alright, I'm just going to show you what comes in the Ascension Deck Building Game Year 1 Collector's Edition. And I do want to reiterate this because going back, I don't think that I said this enough in my intro, in my outro, but you don't have to get this Collector's Edition if you want a reprint of the original base set and expansion of, of just the base set of Ascension. They have a set called Ascension Deck Building Game, which is a reprint with the new artwork and things like that. But this is the Collector's Edition. This, as we're about to see, has an expansion and a ton of promos in it. And the first thing we'll see is that it comes in this fancy tin, which is reflecting everything. But aside from that, here's a little listing of all the different contents. It's a very nice tin. It's got a 3D thing of what's his name? Ozaya. That's what his name is. Ozaya, one of the iconic characters of the game. And then here we got a cool looking rule book. That's I don't know. I don't know if this is like an official unboxing. I'm just trying to show you everything. Let's take a look at this game board because this is worth noting for sure. This is the new board that comes with the game, and it is quite swank, if I do say so. It's got this silver foil trim on it. This is purely just for aesthetic purposes. There's no gameplay difference here. You got the Mystic Heavy Entry, Cultist, Honor Pool, the main row, or the center row, and then the main Ascension deck and the Void. So it's not really expansion friendly. There's no spots for, which was a little bit disappointing to me. There's no spot for Soul Gems. There's no spot for the current, not the Fate card, but the event cards, anything like that, or the Fanatic. But, you know, you take what you can get, I suppose. So let's go ahead and gently put this away because I don't want to put the box on top of the tin on top of that. And then here's what you have on the inside. We'll focus in a little bit at this point. All right, so it comes with, this is actually a box inside of another box. And here's the insert, which honestly is nice, but is probably on its way out because I want to put my other, there's nothing else in here. I'm not even going to bother to try to take it out. But I still want to be able to put my other Ascension expansions, even though they're not fancy Collector's Edition expansions, into that tin just to make it easier. So that's probably going to have to go. But this is the center box. This is where all the cards rest. All right, so the game comes with a pouch to keep the honor tokens, at which point you might be saying, oh yeah, we don't have to use those same generic honor tokens. Yes, they gave us really nice honor tokens now. No, it's the same ones. Same ones. But okay, the pouch is nice. I guess you've upgraded from plastic bag to pouch. So let's go to the actual cards. And the game comes with dividers. And the dividers are cool, except that there's only one. This is kind of getting into the review part, I suppose, at this point. But there's only one card for all the starter sets, which are the Apprentices and Militia, Apprentici. Only one card for the always available cards, which is like all the Heavy Infantry, Mystics, and the Cultist. Then you have the base set. Then you have the Return of the Fallen expansion. Then there's one for all the different promos. I kind of felt like there should be a card for everything, because why not? And then in the back here, you have more dividers, just a few more, but they are blank. Like, why couldn't you just made those into dividers for the other sets? Or for like the other things that are in this box, or for future sets. Why not? But maybe they will actually go ahead and do collector's editions for the rest of the expansions. I don't know. Maybe eventually. So the one thing that's worth noting here, possibly more than anything else about this, well, first off, all the cards are foil. So that's definitely worth noting. But even more than that, as you can tell, this is new artwork. Now, some of this artwork was actually in the two-player Ascension starter set that they had put out last year. But I believe some of it is new. But here you have the Militia, the Apprentice, this is all the different starting decks. So then we go to the always available cards, and we have, wow, that's really foily for the camera. You have the Cultist, which is a drastic improvement artwork-wise. The Heavy Infantry, which I also like. The original Heavy Infantry was just okay. And the Mystic. Now, I actually like the original Mystic artwork. It's one of the few pieces of art I like, but oh well. And then just some of I'm not going to go through every single card, but I just think some of them might be worth taking a look at. You still have let's take a look with some impressive ones. There's the Sea Tyrants and the Winds Tyrants, Earth Tyrant. The dragons always look pretty cool. There's the Avatar of the Fallen, which still looks weird and kind of gross, but the Shadow Star always looks really cool. So as you can see, there's a significant improvement in the artwork, in my opinion. And Shade of the Black Watch. Lots of really good improvements to the artwork and the graphic design. Even aside from the artwork in the box, everything along the edges of the cards just looks a lot nicer and cleaner. Even the original Arha Templar, who's like Ozaya, I believe is his name. He's got the Ozaya. There he is, Ozaya the Peerless. I just like that artwork a lot. So there is some significant improvements here in the artwork. There's no denying that. And like I said, I'm not going to go through everything. And then here you have this is the Return of the Fallen set. Let's see, any that are really worth noting here. I do think some of this artwork is just straight up retouched, but some of it is new. But without really having them all, it's like that's not that drastically different. I think the biggest differences were in the original base set, not so much in the Return of the Fallen set, which just seems to have gotten touched up graphic design-wise. Like that is, I think, exactly the same. So, but not all of that was so terrible. Now the promos, and there's a lot of different promos that come in this, but not all of them. This is just for some of the earlier promos. So there's the Journeyman Sage, and again, some of these are just reprinted artwork just with the foil. Those are all the kind of single promos. Here's the sort of promo packs, like the Giant Rat, which goes to the Rat Queen, and the little cards explaining it, and the Samael's Little Helper, which is like the Christmas-themed pack that they had put out, the Samael Claws, and then the Leprechaun pack, and the Giant Rats for the Rat King. So you have the Rat King and the Rat Queen. So again, I'm not going to go over what all these cards do because that's not really what this is about. I just wanted to show you the stuff that comes in the Ascension Collector's Edition. And that is about it. You get the really cool tin, the really nice board, some improved artwork and graphic design on most of the cards, and the same honor tokens you've always had, but in a bag this time. Let's get to my final thoughts. Now, it's always awkward to do reviews of collector's editions because the game itself hasn't changed at all. It's just the components. It's just the paint and the skinning of it. And like I did Deluxe Hanabi earlier this week, but I thought that was a review that was definitely merited because it was so drastically different component-wise from the original Hanabi. The rules of the game may have been the same, but that huge change in the components fundamentally altered the enjoyment of the game for myself and my group in a positive way, as it turns out. But that was definitely something that needed to be mentioned, and also was significantly more money than the original small card game, so I wanted people to know whether or not it was worth it for them, or at least let people know how I felt about it and let them make up their own minds based on that. And the same thing with the Ascension Collector's Edition. It's the same fundamental game. Nothing really has changed other than all the cards being in one place for your convenience. And I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts about whether or not it's going to be worth it for you, knowing, of course, that this is just a normal retail edition of it. If you don't like Ascension, I don't think this is going to change your mind at all. Unless, like, I don't like the artwork of Ascension, and I never have. If that was the one thing that was keeping you away from the game, the one thing that made you hate it, then you might consider getting this game. Because I might eat some crow here. It looks good. Not all of it. I still think this is just decent artwork, but they really did a good job here. I think that the artist, I think his name is Eric Sabi, I'll give him props here. He's gotten a lot better. The cards look cleaner. They look nicer. It's gotten its own unique feel to it that makes it look distinct. The graphic design of the card as a whole just looks better and more professional, and I do like that a lot. And hey, yeah, I'm a sucker for foil. It works. I work in printing. We make foil stuff all the time, foil printing and fancy things, and I like how it looks. So as far as how the appearance of it is, and the board looks magnificent, that is really solid. So if you really were hung up on the graphic design a lot, then you might want to consider getting this. And also, it's worth noting, like I said in my intro, that the first original first printing of the Chronicle of the Godslayer and Return of the Fallen was like garbage as far as the cutting and the trimming. So that was definitely worth a reprint. But like I said, or maybe I meant to say, you can get a reprint of Ascension, the first set, right now. They renamed it Ascension Deck Building Game, which is a name just as exciting as DC Comics Deck Building Game. But you can get it now. It's the same thing. It's got the new improved artwork and design, and it's much cheaper than the collector's edition, but of course it doesn't have as many cards, and it's not in a tin. And I like the tin. Smaller tins are more annoying for me, but this tin at least can be stackable with some of my other longer games, so I'm okay with that. As far as what's the other stuff that's in the box, the insert's going to go. It's just going to go. I mean, I'm going to put all my Ascension stuff in here. I don't see why I wouldn't. So that insert's just got to go. It's as useless as a Fantasy Flight insert. So I'll have to kind of jury rig my own like I did in my Ascension box as a divider between the two halves of the tin. The dividers that they have in there for the actual card sets are cool, and I like them. I don't see why they didn't have dividers for every set that's come out till now. That seems like a no-brainer. They threw in a bunch of sets, a bunch of dividers for the base sets and the promos, and then a bunch of blank ones. And even the dividers that they have for the base set, they have like starting cards, but there's just one. So, like even Thunderstone has like different dividers for each set of starting cards for each player. That would have made more sense. And also, I don't know, that just seemed a bit clunky to me. Or even dividers for the Rat King and Queen would have been nice. So I don't know why they didn't bother with that. And I don't know if they're going to bother to have more collector sets in the future. I assume that they would. But if they don't, you're kind of back on that. And if you want dividers, you're going to have to make your own. So that's a bit weird. And I think that for a collector's edition, they should have thrown sleeves in. They should have thrown sleeves in. Would it have been that much sweat off their back or skin off their back, however you say it, to put sleeves in there? So that's a complaint. But other than that, it looks great. It has kind of rekindled my interest in Ascension because I want to play it, even though it hasn't fundamentally changed the game. And I think that there has been a huge issue with the appearance of the game in the past, and I'm not the only one. I'm really not. You'll have to take my word for that. And if that's your holdup, consider looking into the collector's edition if you can still find it. For the cost, it is expensive, but if you enjoy the game, if you just want to see it in its most glorious aspect, consider picking it up. But it is by no means essential. It's not going to change your mind about the game if you absolutely hate every part of it. But for people that just want something, want their game to be pimped out, want it to look good, and just want to be a collector, I guess that you can officially call me collector, this might be the edition for you.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.